In this lesson, we'll continue exploring the chaining menu, but specifically look at some advanced options for wireframe chaining. To start, I'll go into Contour, and the chaining dialog comes up like before. We saw how the default chain option is set to just chain. However, there's also other options like partial. Partial allows me to select geometry to start, and then it will ask to select the last entity. So if I selected this as the last entity, it will continue that chain all the way around until it hits the last entity. And now it asks me for chain number 2. Since I'm still in partial, maybe I'll start here, and it wants to know the last entity. I'm going to select this one here, and of course it goes up, over, and down. Let's hit unselect, unselect. Now we have window. Window allows us to simply window select geometry. And when you window select, it will ask you for an approximate starting point. I'll just click anywhere. And now it selects both of these chains based on my window selection. Let's hit unselect. And now let's do a window select around this geometry. And we'll use this as a start point. Notice all the pieces of geometry include a lot of open chains here. By open chains, I mean a green that starts and a red that finishes. The reason we get that is because I simply window selected, and it's only looking for items that are completely inside the window. As you can see, down here, we have an option for what happens with window select. Inside the window, just outside, in and intersecting, out and intersecting, or simply intersecting. Let's hit unselect. So that was chain, partial, window. We also have Polygon, which is very powerful for when you're doing engravings and logos. For example, if I just wanted these small pieces of geometry right here, I can simply use the polygon shape, and when I'm done, double click, sketch the approximate start point, it'll be right here, and it identifies those 3 shapes. Subsequently, let's just say I wanted to grab just this area out here. Double click, select, and now it gets all that. Unselect, 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 and unselect. We also have the ability to select points here or an area. Area is very powerful because by turning this on, I can simply select in an area and it identifies the outside perimeter of that area. So same with that one here. It's a simple way of identifying a closed contour. Let's hit unselect and unselect. We also have single, which is exactly that. It lets you select just a single option or a single entity. And then a vector select, which allows me to draw a line through the geometry. Double click and I'm done, and it finds all the geometry that goes through that. And of course it chains it. So once I went through this entity right here, it will chain that entire entity. Let me hit unselect here. We also have some options such as last. So as an example, let's say I did a regular chain and I selected this geometry here and that one there. And I click OK, and I just accept my default toolpath settings. Now if I go back into that toolpath and the chaining dialog comes up, I can select last. And notice what it did was it selected the last geometry that I chained. So that's what last does. We also have, as we saw, unselect, and the one in the middle here is chain similar. So imagine if you had a bunch of geometry that were all similar shapes. Let's say like all keyhole slots or all ellipses. You can tell it to chain similar, and it would identify all of these similar looking shapes. The chain similar options setting configures how you want chain similar to work. You also have an apply button, or in this case an end chain. If you wanted to end that chain and then continue starting your next chain, you would use this tool here. We explored branches before, and then we also explored the start and end options. In our next lesson, we'll explore the solids function in solids chaining. And last but not least, we have the options up here for C-plane and 3D. These options control whether you're allowing the chain to go in 3 dimensions or stick to the construction plane that you're currently in. We'll explore that more in the 3D solids chaining, which we'll do next.